Israeli police in the city. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas accused Jewish settlers of killing Abu Qadir and demanded that Israel mete out the strongest punishment against the murderers if it truly wants peace. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also urged police to swiftly investigate who was behind the loathsome murder and its motive. He called on all sides not to take the law into their own hands. Meanwhile, the White House has condemned the killing of Abu Qadir and called on Israel and the Palestinian authorities to take all necessary steps to prevent an atmosphere of revenge and retribution.
The United States condemns in the strongest possible terms the heinous murder of Palestinian teenager Mohammed Hussein Abu Qadir. We send our condolences to his family and to the Palestinian people. We note that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has called upon law enforcement authorities to work as quickly as possible to identify the perpetrators and motives behind this heinous act, and we hope to swiftly see the guilty parties brought to justice. We call on the government of Israel and the Palestinian Authority to take all necessary steps to prevent an atmosphere of revenge and retribution. People who undertake acts of vengeance will only destabilize an already volatile and emotional situation.
An Israeli security source said Israel suspected the youth had been kidnapped and murdered, possibly in retribution for the killings of the Israeli teens whose corpses were discovered on Monday, nearly 3 weeks after they were abducted in the occupied West Bank.
Iraq has denied reports that its troops have abandoned positions along the border with Saudi Arabia. Interior Ministry spokesperson Brigadier General Sayad Mayan told the media that the border force is functioning normally. Earlier, Al Arabiya TV reported that Saudi Arabia had deployed 30,000 soldiers along the 900-kilometer frontier after Iraqi forces withdrew. It claimed the Saudi personnel were fanning out along the border to prevent attacks by jihadist-led Sunni rebels. And last week, King Abdullah ordered all necessary measures to be taken to protect Saudi Arabia against terrorist threats. On Wednesday, he discussed Iraq and the threat posed by the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant with U.S. President Barack Obama. More than 1 million Iraqis have fled their homes over the month as Sunni rebels led by ISIS overran Mosul, Tikrit, and other cities and towns in the north and west. At least 2,461 people were killed in violent attacks in June. Chinese President Xi Jingping has arrived in South Korea for a 2-day visit to focus more on its neighbor North Korea. And it's the first time a Chinese leader has visited Seoul before Pyongyang and comes amid cooler China-North Korea ties. In a statement, both countries reaffirmed their opposition to North Korea nuclear tests. South Korean President Park Geun-hye said both countries agree that the North's denuclearization should be realized by all means. The statement follows a series of missile tests by North Korea. Mr. Xi's visit comes a day after North Korea fired short-range rockets into the sea. Last year, North Korea carried out its third nuclear test, and there are reports that it could be planning a fourth. In the meantime, the sixth and final round of nuclear negotiations between Iran and the P5+1 group has begun in Vienna. A deadline for a deal expires on July 20th, although this could be extended if an agreement is not made in time. Iran insists it is enriching uranium to fuel power plants and wants international sanctions to end. But the West has accused Iran of having military intentions and wants to scale back enrichment to ensure the uranium cannot be used in weapons. The EU's foreign policy chief, Catherine Ashton, is leading the negotiations on the part of the P5 group, which comprises the US, the UK, France, Germany, Russia, and China. Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif heads the Iranian delegation. He said in an address on Wednesday that Iran is ready to take steps to ensure the peaceful nature of its nuclear program, but it would not kneel in submission to foreign powers. The threat to world peace continues, and security is being beefed up and tightened at airports with direct flights to the United States. including some in the UK. Now, that's in response to a U.S. warning of of a credible threat. Transport Secretary Patrick Malauling said the measures were taken to keep the public safe. While he would not specify what steps would be involved, he ruled out significant disruption to passengers. This comes amid U.S. media reports that al-Qaeda affiliates in Syria and in Yemen are developing bombs to smuggle on planes. A U.S. Department of Homeland Security official said changes were a response to a real-time and credible threat, but he could not comment on specific intelligence matters. The VOA's Doug Bernard joins me now live from the newsroom in Washington. Doug, thank you for joining me on The World Today. Could you give us more information about this threat that U.S. airports say they're probably undergoing?
Well, this morning, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security issued a statement saying that due to what he called, and he's launching a series of enhanced security measures at a number of, specifically, that have direct flights to or from the United States. Now, we don't know which airports are being targeted of those enhanced security measures are, but it's clear that they're being a little tight-lipped. They don't want to give away too much. Received some reports of some credible threats, and so they say they're responding to keep the flying public safe.
Well, Doc, that's quite understandable. You know, they're taking measures to prevent, working on the threat messages that they have received. But it's also quite understanding that in 2009, there was a failed bomb attempt on a flight to Detroit on Christmas Day. What sort of reaction are the new measures? What sort of reactions are you getting from passengers at the airports?
Well, it's clear that nobody really likes enhanced security measures. Administration here is the subject of frequent complaints. People don't like being delayed in airport lines, being searched, having items seized from them. But on the same hand, remember that people are concerned. Those memories, not just back to 2001, but incident that you referenced. With that flight into the Detroit Metro Airport, those memories are still fresh. So I think people, at this point at least, they'll grumble about it, but there seems to be a grudging acceptance that this is just part of the modern world we live in now.
And the search at the airports, the security search, are they restricted to? Do you have more time reserved for foreigners than you have for those who are already U.S. citizens? Those incoming, do they spend more time being searched by security agents than than those who are Americans and who live in the country, who are just moving out?
I think what's interesting is that this announcement comes amid a number of news reports that apparently, so go the media reports, a terrorist group that's based Arabian Peninsula has recently sent some of its expert bomb makers to an extremist terror group in Syria. The reports by intelligence officials that new types of explosives might be trying to be developed. So whether, for example, didn't work, but there have been other instances too. That explosive device that was found in a UK flight, a computer printing cartridge. So there's concern about these reports. And also remember that there are a number of fighters who are fighting with ISIL, the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, who are Europeans. And Europeans don't need visas to come to the United States. So there's concern that that also might be a vulnerability that terrorists might be trying to exploit.
I guess we have to leave it there, Doug. Thank you so much for speaking to us on The World Today. Doug Bernard is the VOA's correspondent here in Washington. Now it's time to visit Tokyo, where the newest exhibition to open at the city's American Science Museum takes a deep and fun dive into the world of toilets. The main exhibit centers around a massive 5-meter tall toilet that allows visitors slide into it after putting on hats shaped like feces to simulate the journey into the sewers. Take a look.
While the gigantic toilet is one of the main attractions, the exhibit includes 5 zones that range from showing exactly what one's excrement is made of to how different types of toilets are used around the world, and even a possible space toilet that could be used to grow plants. Exhibit staff Tami Sakamaki says toilets and feces are normally thought of as very unclean topics, but I would like for people to actively talk about them instead of just thinking that they are dirty. For those who came to visit, the experience of putting on their special excrement hats and taking the plunge was worth it. They even gave a new perspective on what an important bodily function it is. This 28-year-old visitor Mai Ishida says it's not every day you can become feces, so I highly recommend everyone give it a try. At the end of a visitor's journey through the exhibition, they are met by a choir of toilets that sings and thanks them for putting in the effort of trying to learn more about what is normally an unspoken about time on the bowl. The exhibit lasts until October the 5th and costs 1,200 yen. That's about $11 US.
Wow, that's pretty graphic and hits quite close to home. Well, thanks for watching The World today. I am Amarachi Ubani. Sports News is up next.